I like to identify as a digital activist, and I call myself a digital activist because I use digital spaces as my main medium of activism. And my activism is advocating for good governance and public accountability. And I am also the founder of a non-profit organization that's called the Umma Action, which is focused on civic engagement and socioeconomic capacity development in young people. So in the online space, I advocate for good governance and public accountability. So I basically speak truth to power, but it's in relation to things that I feel oppress me as a young person in this country. I started this because there was a time, I can't remember if it was in 2018 or 2019, when students at JKUAT were demonstrating because of insecurity. And the security forces then came and started brutalizing the students who were demonstrating against insecurity. So I was complaining about it in the house, and my mother was around and she was like, just stop making noise. No one here is gonna help you. We are not government. And it was at that point that I figured, oh, well, there's social media. So I just took my phone and I did a rant about how 4 grown men will just brutalize one tiny student. It doesn't, who's unarmed. It wasn't making sense when you're the people who have taken an oath to serve and protect. So I am asking you for your protection, and you are brutalizing me because I am asking for your protection, which is my constitutional right. So that is what started the whole digital activism journey, because I did that video and I put it on some social media spaces, and people picked it up and put it on their social media spaces, and then it just went viral and it became a thing. So I figured, oh well, other than Udaku, I can use this space to also just bring awareness to, you know, the things that are not right in society per se. I know that is the common perception that Twitter spaces, online digital spaces don't create an impact, but they do. I am a living proof of that. Ladies who have used certain sanitary towels from a certain company will tell you that it works, because we were complaining about those products on online spaces. And the brand actually had us because they selected women from various parts of the countries for a research program. And I can say there's a slight improvement in their products nowadays. So I usually make videos to highlight, you know, if a public servant is not being accountable and they need to be accountable or something. So I usually call out someone. So an instance where I was actually harassed is because I had made a video and I was shaming our president. And I strongly believed he needed to be shamed because he goes against everything that the Constitution mandates him to be as a president. The way his regime has run this country has been very disappointing, if not shameful. So I shamed him. I called him out because I felt like, you know, if there's no one who's gonna tell the king he's mad, I'll be the one to do it. And he has his own supporters, and they really, really came for me. I was body shamed. I was called names. I was told that I needed a husband because I am too much. Everything I talked about wasn't viewed as something that's needing public accountability. It was viewed from a very personal perspective. I don't know the president personally. If I talk about the president, I use a scorecard to rate him. So I'll go like corruption, he gets an E, this, he gets an E, that, he gets an public accountability, he gets an E. I mean, we're still waiting for his explanation for the Pandora Papers. We are still waiting for that. So accountability is 0. And so from that scorecard, I'll then go like, that's a failed leadership. Not personally a failed man, as the president, but that's a failed leadership. His office has failed. And online spaces don't tend to look at that perspective. So it very, very fast became very personal about him as a man and me as a woman. And I actually took some time off from social media after that because it's a lot. When you have like 50 people all telling you negative things, we are human beings, and external validation is something that contributes to our confidence and personas. So when you have 50 people telling you negative things, you go like, oh, maybe or maybe not. So I took some time off, but then I'd say social media and digital spaces are not things that we can avoid. We have to live with them because they're here, they have their own benefits. It's a two-edged sword, but I'm focused on looking at the positives more now. That incident did actually shape my presence online nowadays because I think back then I also wasn't open to different perspectives of people's opinions. And after that incident, I realized we might all be suffering as a country because of that administration, but then we are not all seeing it from the same perspective. We all have our own different ways of seeing it, and everyone's opinion is valid. We are all entitled to one. So yeah, nowadays I'm more careful with my words online, and I tend to look at every negative thing that comes my way as criticism that I can either learn from or just put aside and move on. It is important for there to be safe spaces for women online because traditionally societies have marginalized women. So I usually look at the online spaces as a blessing because initially we thought this is where we could be free. Someone is not going to come and touch you on Twitter. Someone is not going to rape you on Twitter. But it turns out the bullying that goes on in digital spaces is actually just psychological abuse. There's physical abuse that you can show the scars for, but then this is psychological abuse, and you can't prove it because it's something that goes on within you. So it becomes very hard for someone who's been harassed online to even make a police case about it, because how do you prove you were harassed? Someone else will go and say, I was just exercising my freedom of expression, So it's a space that's positive, and it's a space that also has some loopholes. We need to make it more safe for women because it should be a safe space for us to be able to express ourselves. And it's easier for us to be able to express ourselves online compared to expressing yourself offline. So it's a crucial space that gives us a voice, and it's a crucial space that creates social impact and advocates for social change. And as we know, women are affected more by socialism in society and all the social spaces, because those are the spaces that will really, really marginalize us. For example, I can't go sit in a bar at 3 a.m. It's going to be considered very unfeminine. But for a man, that is something that you can do. And you see, it's usually in bars at 3 a.m. that important business deals are struck. So we are already isolated in the offline space. But if I decide to host a Twitter space at 3 a.m., nobody is going to look at me and going like, that's very unfeminine of you, because it's Twitter and it's online, so I can do it at 3 a.m. I can do it at whatever time I want to do. So removing that abuse part of it then creates an enabling environment for women to be more participative in all aspects of life.